This episode sponsored by Lake Monster Details, producing the Don's Light and Magic Legacy line of parts, offering upgrade parts and decals for accuracy, special effects, and lighting. Visit www.lakemonsterdetails.com and make it glow. Also sponsored by GCals, producing aftermarket replacement decals and custom quality graphics for your favorite spaceships. Visit www.gcals.company.site and add some personalization to your sci-fi models today. Also sponsored by Mask Design, boldly going where no masking kit has gone before. Take your model to the next level of detail and accuracy with a masking kit from Mask Design. Visit Mask Design on Facebook or click the ordering link in the notes below the video.
Dispatch War Rocket Ajax to bring me back his body.
Hey, what's up, fellow modelers, fellow model heads? I guess would be an appropriate term. Welcome back to the Ensign's Chair. Let me know what you think about the new logo at the beginning there. I thought it was about time. 3,000 subscribers. I think this channel I've been doing for about 5 years now, so it's time for an updated logo. Let me know what you think. But anyway, welcome to my channel. Welcome to the show. And we're going to be continuing to work on the War Rocket Ajax. We've made some progress here. Getting there, getting real close. Still got to work on getting that front part done. We're going to look at that a little bit in this video and get a couple of updates done. I apologize, it's been a little bit, but it's been about 2 weeks since my last update, but a lot of it's been just sanding, priming, sanding, filling, priming, sanding. It's been a real repetitive thing to get this looking right because there's some crazy seams in a couple spots on this, and it takes quite a bit of work to get them to look good. I'm going to talk about a couple of them in this video. So without further ado, give me a minute. I'll put you on the bench. We'll get to work. All right, so here's what I've got going. I've got a couple things going on at the moment, actually. I'm kind of working on trying to get the interior ready and done up. I've repainted this and got a little dust on it. I have to clean that off. I got the back wall pretty much painted up. That's ready to go in place. I've got the front, I guess you could say, captain's chair ready to go. That's all painted up. I don't know why this looks out of focus. Let me see. There we go. So I've got that all painted up and that's ready to go. I've got a SMD in place. We'll see that once I get this all together. I got a light, so that screen is going to light up right there. I've got my ladders reprinted. I do have that center console that goes behind the captain's seat with a LE or SMD in it. I've got that painted and it's drying right now, so I can't pull that over here, but we'll take a look at that when that's all together. I've got the I got some dust flying around in here. I got the cannon all done up, the turret that goes on top. I did up a 3D printed part as best I could. It calls for you just to use a piece of styrene, round styrene, but I think it looks better like that. I tried to do the best I could to copy what I saw in some of the pictures and the still shots from the movie. But you don't really get a great clear shot of the tip of this. But I did my best interpretation of it. I think it turned out pretty nice. That'll look good once that gets in place. That's the first part I've got printed on the exterior and painted. I'm working on the dome now. You can see how that turned out. It's nice and shiny. That's going to look real good once I get this whole thing painted up. This is actually the secondary color because what I'm going to do is, if you look at the studio model, you can see that there's kind of a different color around the frame, around the windows here. So what I'm going to do is, and that's great because what that lets me do is paint this in my secondary color, and then what I'll do is I've started cutting my pieces for the glass to go in here. And it's going to look really transparent once I get it in place. You can see there. But what I've done is I've got this painted up. I've got it light blocked. I've got the inside pretty much done with the lighting. And what that's going to let me do is put these plastic clear pieces in place. And then I'll just mask a frame around this. And that'll be masked off when I need to paint the rest of this. Plus I've still got to do... I was going to leave this so that the cockpit, this piece could actually come off so you get a better look at the interior. I'm still debating whether I'm going to do that or not. I don't know if it's necessary. You're really not going to get that much better of a look inside. As long as I can get these windows nice and clear, which they will be with those plastic pieces. I don't think there's any sense in having this come off. So what I'm going to have to do is do some seam work around this. So it's going to let me do that, and then I can repaint this and blend it in with the rest of the ship as best as possible. So I've got that piece just about ready to start on. You can see the finish on that turns out real nice with those metallic paints. So I'm really looking forward to getting this painted up, and without dropping it and scratching it up. And then I've got the interior frame painted up in red, so that's ready to go in place to cover up the backs of the windows so you don't see the edges of the clear pieces. So I've got that ready to go, and I've been working on. Change my focus here. I've been working on all the sanding, getting all these seams done, and I've made quite a bit of progress. You can see I'm still got some work going on here. I got a couple stubborn seams. There was a lot of work on the underside of this wing here that I'm still working on. I started working on getting the SMDs in place for the wing cannons, so I started swapping out those wires for the SMDs, and just trying to get this all blended in and sanded. I've got about I don't know, about 50 days or so to Wonderfest, so I've kind of got to get rolling on this. My goal is to have this ready in the next hopefully 2 weeks to start throwing paint on, or the final coat of paint, get this all smoothed out. I've got some work up here. This is a lot of work up here to get this to kind of match and blend in without it looking off. But it's coming along. I might have to put some milliput in here and kind of sculpt this a little bit more because it's not quite in the shape it should be. So might have a bit more work to do on that, but it's all coming together. I noticed that these were missing from the 3D model files. There wasn't anything for these. I don't know if these are supposed to be wing vents or what, but you can see these in the movie. And what I did was I just made some parts. I'll make these part of the files too that'll be downloadable. I just made some parts up, put them in place, and then I'll sand around these, get them all nice and blended in, and be able to paint that, and that'll look good. So I've got those ready to go. I did get the wing part done up, and I modified this a little bit. You can see I changed the file a little bit, did some modding to it. I like the way it kind of blends together, where the back end of this just kind of flows into the tail of this. And I've made this rounded on the back, and I've got the SMDs in place on this. Let me plug this in, and there we go. You can see the SMDs are in place on both the front and the back. I'll just mask over those while I'm painting. This one's going to be a little hard to mask over because I didn't quite get the SMD pushed all the way in before I glued it in place, so I might have to wrap something around that, but that's not a big deal. This one I could just put because it's kind of flush with the back end here. I could just put a mask over that, and that'll be good to go. And then once I get it all painted, I'll put a drop of UV resin on there to make a bulb look, and that'll be how I finish this off. So I've got to get this painted up. I'm probably going to paint all this up separate from the rest of the model, and then just because this will go into place pretty seamlessly. You're going to have a little bit of a seam there, but I mean, I think it's not to be unexpected with the model. It's not a out of place seam, so I don't think I got to worry about too much seam work on that. But yeah, so this is turning out great. That's going to look good once I can get that in place on there. But let me unplug that, and I'm working on the galley pieces, what I'm calling the galley, or this part on the side where I added the lighting, which is another part I'm still working on smoothing out before I can put these in place. But I'm gonna get the main coat of paint on this first, and then put these in place. I'll probably mask these off before I apply them, and then that way once I get done, I can just pull the mask off, because you can see I'm working on getting these painted up. I've done some sanding here. I've put a coat of gloss black on it to help with light blocking, which I don't really have to worry too much about because this was printed in black, but it's a little bit transparent in the thinner areas. So I did paint this with a gloss black, and then I've done, and I don't know if you can even make it out, but I've done a two-tone. The camera might not pick this up as much. It's a real subtle two-tone. Basically, these areas here where the arch is, that's going to be painted red, which you can see I'll start working on here, which I'll show you in a minute, is the pale gold from All-Clad, and then this part here is the old gold that I showed. I think it's called, I forget what it's called, but the one I talked about before, I think it was the paints for that. So that's painted kind of a two-tone. And what I'm working on now is going in and painting the red details on this, and I've made this pretty easy to do. I've tried to make these panels as raised as possible, and that for these little corners here, this is a depression. So basically all I do is I get a fine tip brush and I put some paint in that depression, and then I come back with a fine point Q-tip, which you can get these from Hobby Lobby. Let me show you these in case you're not familiar with these. These have a bit of a fine point to them instead of just a rounded tip to it, so it helps you get in there. You see some of that red paint on there where I've been going in here and removing. What I do is I get the red in here, and then I come in with this fine point Q-tip and just put a little water on it and come in and just clean it up. And that's what I'm working on now. You see it's turning out pretty good. I think it's going to look real nice. This is going to get this whole piece is going to get a gloss coat over it. So these are kind of like a flat right now, but they'll be gloss once I get that gloss coat on it, and it'll all blend in real nice. But basically that's what I'm working on now, is going through and getting these cleaned up. So I'm going to keep working on that. I'm going to get this bridge assembled, and we'll take a look at that once I get that done, and I'm going to continue to work on this here and see if I can get this to the point where I'm ready to put another primer coat and see where I'm at. So give me a little bit, we'll come back and take a look. Alright guys, just a quick clarification, because I realize I should probably explain this a little more to those that aren't familiar with it. So I'd mentioned that I'm painting this and then cleaning it up with a Q-tip and water. Now the reason I can do that is because the All-Clad paints and the Vallejo paints that I use to do the metallic won't come off with water. Once they dry, you let them dry, and they'll be dry. You wipe with a Q-tip, they're not going to come off. However, the red I am painting with, I'd mentioned before, this Anita's craft paint, and it's true red. And the thing about craft paint is you can put it on, let it dry, and then I could come back and clean it up with a wet Q-tip, and it'll only take off what I want to take off with the red paint. So that way it doesn't mess up the metallic paint at all. And you can see it doesn't mess it up at all. And this is pretty much cleaned up and done. I just got to put the gloss clear coat on it, and this will be ready to go. And it turned out real nice. I'm real happy with it. So hopefully the rest of the ship turns out just as nice. But anyway, I just wanted to clarify that to some that may not be familiar with how that works. Now you can do the same thing with some paints and use like a mineral spirit. But I like the craft paints because it's non-toxic. It cleans up real easy, and it works just as well. Once you get a clear coat on it, this will be just as good as any other acrylic paint that you might use. So just wanted to mention that real quick and clarify. I'm going to work on getting this other one done now. And like I said, we'll come back here in a little bit and take a look at where I'm at. Alright, so I've been working on sanding this, priming it, sanding it, and I think I am just about there. I'm just kind of going over this now, just making sure there aren't any last little bits that need to be smoothed out more. I'll probably do one more coat of primer and come over it with a, I don't know, probably a 600 grit, somewhere around there, sandpaper. Come over it one more time and then do one final coat. So I'm real close to getting this. I got stuck to me. I got a couple of spots where I'm still working on the, where you've got those kind of plateaus, those flat spots where this just wasn't that high of a model as far as polygon count or that. So I'm going in, kind of saying that this is one area that I've got a little bit of that I'm working on. This one is looking pretty good, maybe a little bit just on this one side here, and then these I've kind of got pretty much where I want them. The wings are looking pretty good at this point, as far as being smooth and even instead of being uneven in a couple spots like they were when I started on them. And most of these seams are also worked out. So this seam looks real good up here. This one's probably going to need a little bit more work. I can actually still even feel that seam, even though I've puttied this and sanded it a couple of times now. So that was going to take a little more work. I've just about got these areas up here worked out. I'm still sanding these and shaping them a little bit. But I'll get another primer coat on there and see what those are looking like. I think they're pretty close. They're looking pretty good at this point. But all the rest of this is just about ready. I'm actually working on, I think I'd mentioned before, I'm working on getting these SMDs in place for the cannons because I want to get the electronics kind of wired in at this point and done, and then that way I can go ahead and get ready to seal this up. What I've decided to do is I've got another chip, another AT Tiny that I've programmed with the same programming as the strobes, but what I'm going to do is wire that separate, and those are going to operate the cannons. I'm just going to have the cannons kind of flash out of sequence, just randomly flash, and that's what the programming on this chip's going to let me do. And they'll turn on, and I'm going to try to add a sound effect to it as well to have it when those cannons are on and firing. But I've got to do some work on that yet, and I've got to get these wiring done. I just got some more of the warm white SMDs, 0603 SMDs in today. I've got those 4 holes I drilled, I'd mentioned. I've got to put the SMD in, but I've got to wait until I've got this about wired up so I can put the SMDs in place, turn the lights out, and make sure that all these are lighting evenly. I just want these to be faintly lit, but I've got to make sure, I've got to have these actually wired up and turned on so that way when I put them in, I can see how far in they need to go to have these all lit evenly the same. So I can't do that until I get this wiring done, so I want to get that done. So I'm going to work on that. I did add some details to the bottom plate. That's going to go and cover all this up right here. And I think in the movie, you don't really see this spot real good, but it does look like this is pretty much smooth. So this isn't in line with what the studio model probably was, but I just wanted a little more detail on the bottom here. I didn't like just having it plain, so I added that. I did make this this grill on the back here as well. I think you can kind of see there. Try to focus this just a little bit. And you can see that there. I made that grill, and I'll get that blended in. Right now I'm working on the seams around that and get that painted up. But yeah, so I wanted to add this. Plus I added a little more bulk to this for a mounting rod because this didn't have a mounting rod a spot for a mounting rod. So I went and added one in there, and I just added a couple of details. These are going to light up on the bottom here, and this will just cover that square opening there where all the wiring is going to be. And I still got to look and see if I am going to leave this to where it can be removed later or just go ahead and seal this up. I think I'm going to seal this up and just blend it all in and do the seam work on it. I just don't really don't want to leave this big old seam around the bottom here if I can help it. So I think that's what I'm going to do with that. But I've got that. I'm working on sanding this smooth and getting it painted so that way it can all go together and work on the seams on that. And I did get the bridge worked up, although I ran into a bit of an issue. I shouldn't have put glue on this bottom part, and I think you can see there where it had a reaction with the paint, and it's left 2 white spots on the floor there. And also this one, I accidentally broke the lather, and where the glue actually stuck, it peeled some of the paint off. So I'm going to have to work on this some more again, but that's fine because I'm not ready to install it yet anyway. But got a little more work to do on that. I've got the canopy for that with the windows all done. I've got all the plastic. My little plastic pieces that I cut up out of the bottle are in place. They look great. However, I should mention that one thing I forgot with that canopy and doing all the handling when I was putting the clear pieces in, the Vallejo and the All-Clad, you really need to put, if you're going to be handling that, you really need to put a clear coat on it because that paint will rub off. It doesn't like bite into the gloss coat as much as you would hope. And if you don't clear coat it and you sit there and handle it, eventually the metallic's going to rub off. It'll get faint, and it won't be as bright as it was. So I've had to redo that, and I'll talk about that maybe next episode because I kind of want to wrap this up and get this out. It's been almost 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks since I put out an update on this, and I'll put an update out. But I did want to talk about one other thing real quick. Is I did modify these railings. You can see I've got this painted up, and there's no clear coat on this yet, so I got to watch how much I handle it. But I just wanted to show how I'm going to paint these. And it's real easy because I've made, I don't know if you can see there, I've raised that centerpiece quite a bit. It sticks out about 1 millimeter or so from the railing, but it's so small to the naked eye, just looking at it on the model, you're not going to notice that it sticks out a little bit more. But doing that, what that does is it lets me take my paint. This is my True Red, which I'm doing a lot of the markings with. It lets me take that and just take my brush, my fine tip brush, and put my fancy schmancy goggles on because it makes it a little bit easier to see the part. I'll try to keep my head out the way, and hopefully you can make this out. Let me see if I can bring this camera down a little bit closer without blocking the light from the light above. Try to focus a little bit. Nope, too much. All right, and what that lets me do, move this out the way. This here is take my my paint. Remember, this is Nita's acrylic craft paint, True Red. It lets me take it, get some on my brush, and just come in here and brush these centerpieces real easily. And you want to get a good amount on your brush. You don't want to do it to the point where it's going to run all over the place, but you do want enough on here to where it's going to coat what you're painting, because with this metallic finish on it, this paint doesn't really like to stick to it too well. So you got to kind of come in and get a nice decent coat on it. And you may even have to come back over the second time, but you can see how easy these are to paint with them being raised up off the railing a little bit more. But I'm not going to bore you to death doing this whole thing, but I just want to show you how much easier it is to paint these now. And like I said, you may have to come back over these. They're so small that without a magnifying glass, it's really going to be hard to tell if you didn't get a thick coat of paint on here. So even if it's not completely covered, like I said, without a magnifying glass, it's going to be hard to tell. That's why I'm wearing my magnifying glasses now to kind of see this. Oops, sorry, I keep hitting the camera. My head's so close to it. And but that's how I do it. Just come in, paint it. Got a little bit too much paint on this brush, so I'm going to spread it out a little bit. But like I said, it's so small you really don't have to worry too much about not getting a complete cover on every single one of these. Actually, might as well finish this off while I'm sitting here because I'm just about done. But yeah, just get a fine tip paintbrush, get you some magnifying goggles so you can see this part real easy. See, that's not, I can tell with my magnifying goggles that's not covered completely on that part right there. There we go. And it makes it so much easier to come in and paint that part and get that detail done. I've got all these other ones up here done, but that's what that's going to look like. So you can see how that's turning out. And now this will, once this dries, this will need a clear coat. And this will match up nicely with this part, because this is going to go in front of that. And that's how that's going to look. Of course, there'll be a little bit of a distance between the back wall there and the railing, but it gives you kind of an idea of how the combination is going to look. If I can get this part to sit on there without messing it up. There we go. So that's how that's going to look. Should look really good. But just wanted to show that real quick, because I know somebody had mentioned that they weren't sure. They wanted to know how I was going to paint the railings and all that. All this is pretty easy to paint now with the way that I raised the detail a lot on these. And it should paint up real nice. This one has the clear coat on it, gloss clear coat, so you can see it's all glossy. But yeah, can't wait to get those in place. Got a bit more work to do on the War Rocket itself though, before it's ready for final paint. And couple of things I'm going to be working on, but the main thing I want to do between now and the next update I put out is get these electronics wired up. I've got the SMDs on this wing ready for the cannons. I just got to get them wired up and pull them in and glue them in place. This one I've got to put them in place yet. I've got to attach the SMDs. And then I've just got to install those 4 lights. I've got to wire up the top fin here. That's got to go in place, and that's gonna be easy to wire. It's just gonna go down in place like this. So just like that. And I also, again, like I said, I'm still debating whether I want to make this canopy removable in the front. I've got an idea for how to do that, so I've got to work out the wiring on that. But that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, we're getting close to final paint, hopefully, or actually, I better Next update I put out, if it takes me another 2 weeks to put out an update, we better be into putting some paint on this, because otherwise I run a risk of not getting this done in time for Wonderfest, and I really want to have this at Wonderfest. I still got to print my base yet, so I've got to get that worked in as well. But that's pretty much it for this update. I just wanted to make sure that I try to explain as best I can how I'm working on painting some of the parts on this and getting it done. So, but anyway, guys, appreciate everybody for watching these videos. As always, I want to give a shout out to my sponsors, Cass over Lake Monster Details, Gary over at Mass Design, and Gus over at GCals. And Gus did, I didn't bring him out to the shop yet. Gus did send me the decals for this, the Mongo symbol. So we'll look at that next episode as well. I'm looking to get this painted up soon, and then get that Mongo symbol put on here. And that's gonna be one of the first pieces I get done and be able to look at and say, hey, we're getting close. So, but anyway, again, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it helps me out a lot. Just hit that subscribe button down below, and you won't get bothered at all unless you want to hit that bell icon and get the update notifications whenever I put out a video. Other than that, please hit that subscribe button. Give me a subscriber, and it helps me out with my sponsors. And also helps me to decide what kind of content or what other models I want to work on. This one just kind of came out of the blue. But again, thank you everybody for watching. Till next time, keep modeling.